There it is. What is going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night. It's your boy SAJ coming to you live from, my budding studio. It's starting to get a little bit bigger, a little bit better, a lot more Toros stuff. And of course, you guys, if you don't know this guy, you better learn him real quick. This is the illustrious coach Stan Bedwell of the San Antonio Toros. Coach, how the heck are you?
2-0. You can't be better than that right now, so no complaints.
Nice. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for stepping up. We originally were scheduled to have Cam Eccles join us tonight, and truth be told, he was spending time with family, which, if anybody knows us here, right, it's God, family, country, right? And pretty much in those orders, or in that order, rather. And look, you already got a fan saying hey. So, um, but So Cam was spending time with family. I'm not going to push anybody on that. Family comes first. I understand how important it is having, three of my own, and two stepdaughters. Uh, th- that is always going to be the first thing. So again, I appreciate you
No, happy
stepping
to
in.
be here.
So let me start by asking you this. Um, we're obviously 2-0 right now. We had one heck of a game one, and we had an incredible game two. From training camp to preseason, how did the team look to you? I mean, I know Tennessee. I, I guess I was expecting maybe a little bit bigger of a challenge, not knocking those players, um, but they did not seem to have the team chemistry and dynamics that you would kind of expect. So, how did our team look going from preseason training camp into the preseason game, and then based on the adjustments that you made? From preseason game to game one of the season. How did the team look overall to you?
I mean, we only had 5 days from the first time we worked out together until that preseason game. So, whereas the team we played had about 8 days, I believe, so that they had a little bit more time than we did. But you know, I thought Coach Glenville did a great job. His defense is so different than most because it's very reactionary. It's not a huge playbook that you learn. It's very much he teaches some rules and then pretty much the offense calls the defense for you. So depending
Okay.
on different looks and different looks, field zones, what hash you're on, things like that, that pretty much calls the defense. So I think just for those guys getting that down was pretty simple. And then on offense, we don't run a lot of plays. We just try to run the same plays out of different formations or different motions to get to the same plays. So, we get in those few base plays and, you have guys that have played at high levels. So it wasn't too hard for them to pick it up. And I mean, I thought we did excellent the preseason game. You know,
Yeah.
when I look at the opponents of the other teams that was true semi-pro teams, now when you look at ours and you see, Tennessee Hornets, the thought is, okay, who is this? But if you look at the roster from that day, there's about 25 guys there that were signed as Fort Worth Braves. You had defensive backs from LSU, you had receivers from Texas A&M, you had a 3-year starter Texas Tech receiver. Uh,
Hmm.
a lot of really good players out on the field for the team we played against. Texas Longhorn starting punter, and he was fantastic. He might have
Oh,
been
he
the best
was.
field that day. Um, but I think the biggest difference in that game came down to line play, and that was a weakness for them. Was up front on offense, and then on defense, it wasn't a whole lot better. Going into a short week after that, getting ready for the syndicate, they were pretty solid all around. I think still our defensive line and what we do up front, obviously, was pretty tough for their O line to pick up, and so I think they struggled a little bit with that. But other than that, I mean, they have great receivers out there. I know Jeremy Hunty's a good quarterback, and he was just under pressure the whole time. There's a great group of running backs there. There's a few that we tried to sign, running backs and receivers. And then on the defensive side, I thought they were fantastic. That's something I said in the post game press conference. A lot of times when you look and it's 24-0 at half, you kind of think, okay, maybe they took the foot. gas in the second half, and that wasn't the case. We tried to score, and they stopped us, or in combination, we stopped ourselves a lot of times. I felt like as well, and as an offensive guy, I was a bit down with our performance in that second half. Well, really the entire game against the Syndicate. Part of that's credit to them, but the other thing when I look at it and think like, oh man, we didn't play well, but then I think we've only been together, I think 10 days whenever we played that game, and about
Yeah.
7 total days of practice with the preseason game in between. So
Yeah. You'll have to forgive me, Coach. Apparently, somebody's cooking dinner and it's ready. So I'm
but
sure they'll work all that out. But okay, so 10 days, you got what you got,
yep.
right? Which was, and pardon me for being biased, but I think it was an incredible product for 10 days. Now, the opponents that we've played, the Fort Worth Braves / Tennessee Hornets and the Texas Syndicate. These are not slouch teams, and Syndicate proved it by holding us pretty much scoreless the second half of the game. They made some adjustments on the defensive side of the ball. Unfortunately, they didn't make well for them. It's fortunate for us, but our defense is really good also. So I kind of think regardless of what adjustments they could have made, I don't know that it would have necessarily made a difference.
What you will find when you talk football with me is that I'll always talk honest. I don't think there were adjustments made. I mean, I think they played pretty much the same, both halves. We benefited off a good field position a few times in the first half off of the block punt and some things like that. But, I don't think there was anything that changed. Really for us, it was even in that second half. I mean, we'd move the ball down in the red zone, and then we would just shoot ourselves in the foot with a mistake. And that's, again, not to take anything away from them. They were a very good opponent, but there wasn't anything that changed drastically. It's just for us, and it's just the execution. It was a good team, and we didn't execute near as well as we did against a little bit weaker opponent. And that's just something that we got to work on to get better at doing.
Okay. So obviously there will be adjustments that are going to be being made that we won't see this weekend because we technically have a bye now with Fort Worth not being part of the organization anymore. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But so we get a bye, we get a chance to rest and let some guys, because there were a couple of injuries that did happen this weekend. And, that's always something you've got to be concerned about, especially with a smaller roster, right? So we're gonna let the guys rest. We're gonna continue doing the workouts and everything. What can we expect to see at our next home game, which should be against Tall City,
Yes.
if I remember correctly? Yes. Okay. What can we expect to see in that game? Because I know Tall City's been playing fairly well, but they haven't played us yet, right? And again, biased hometown homer, fully admit it, but we kind of seem to be the pinnacle for the league, right?
I think if you look at it from any aspect, whether you're looking at the experience of the coaching staff or the resumes of the players that we have, or down to social media, things like that, I don't think there's any organizationally. I don't think there's anybody that can really say that we're not the favorites, in the league. And so that's a good place to be, but that's also a tough place to be because everyone's always going to be like gunning to shoot you down there. And I think going into the game with the Black Gold there, they had a game. They played this herd team, and the herd team didn't even have 20 players dressed out, and it was only 7-0 at half, and that came off of a defensive touchdown. But when you look at it, the game could have been a lot worse. You had fumbles. You had just it was like almost like the Black Gold did everything they could to not score a lot. It was kind of reminiscent of how I felt like we played some in the second half this past Saturday, and they're a lot better team than what they showed in that game. There's no doubt about that, and we're anticipating a tough game there. As far as our guys and what you'll see from us, I actually gave the guys this week off. Because from
Okay.
the time we got here, those 10 days or so leading up to the game with the syndicate, it was just full go, and there wasn't much free time. And we had some guys that got dinged up in camp, and then they fought through, tried to play the preseason game, then tried to play the syndicate game, and it's just something that I think everybody needed it physically, but also mentally a little bit. And what I find is, you bring guys into a new situation, you work them really hard. They maybe resent things a little bit and don't enjoy it quite as much as they should. And then you give them a break. And about half of our team went back home for the week. And what you're going to get from them is they're going to be back home here already. I'm starting to see some messages from guys of like, oh no, we don't play a game for 12 more days or things like that. They're already missing it. And that's kind of part of the hope of it is you send them away, they miss it, and then they're hungry to come back. Their bodies are healed up. We don't have to reinstall the system because they know that. And so when we get the guys back this weekend, we really get to hit the ground running, preparing for the black gold with a rejuvenated group that already understands what we're doing. So just think some might think that that's not a very good idea when you're still so early on to give guys time off. But we thought as a staff it's the best thing that we could do for our team in the current moment. And I think it'll pay dividends and you'll get the best product that you've seen so far whenever we come back at home.
So it's funny that you mentioned that. I have a really good friend of mine that's really big into high school sports and coaching. He coached two of his kids, helped with his third son. Both of his coaches are now high school coaches here in San Antonio, and they're coaching the little brother. And so they're going through the showcases and stuff like that, and trying out for the different universities, and doing all that good stuff and everything. He said what you said, kind of stop, go disappear for the day, go be kids. You guys are 14, 15, 16 years old. If all you're focused on is this, you're gonna, oh, hi puppy. If all you're focused on is this, you're gonna lose your love for the game. You're gonna wind up getting hurt, and then you're probably gonna wind up never playing again, and you're gonna regret it later on down the road, right? So I think that's a great idea. That, like you said, let them go away, let them go decompress for a little bit, let them get hungry again and come back, and then you're going to get the best product on the field. So I love that you said that. It just when you hear something from a coach, with your tenure that echoes something that a close friend said, you're like, oh man, these guys know what they're talking about, man. So I just love hearing about that.
And I mean, we had initially had them coming back late this week, giving them about 4 or 5 days off. But then you think like, okay, it's going to be one more practice or so if we do that, and just rather give them the weekend, let them spend time with family, and then get back Monday night. We have a mandatory team meeting that everybody will be at, doing installation, everything we need for the black gold, and then we're on a typical week. We go 2 days on the field and a walk through, and we'll go. Taking this break off, we'll go 3 days on the field when we get back, and so I think we'll have more time to work. A little bit shorter practices doing it that way, and I think it'll be good. We all think it'll be good.
I think it's going to be great. The only and it's not a concern, but my only question would be about conditioning, obviously, because that is going to be extremely important if we're going to be playing games here in South Texas at 7 p.m. I'm assuming that you are making adjustments to make sure that that's taken into consideration as part of the training.
Yeah, I mean,
correct?
Definitely. I've never seen a pro level where you're out there doing sprints or anything like that at practice. But I mean, just being out there already in the heat, it gets the guys enough, and that's why I said we've been going. The typical plan is to go 2 practices a week for about 2 hours. And, this next week when guys get back, we'll go 3 practices for about an hour and 15 to an hour and a half each. and I think that saves the legs a little bit. And we'll finish that last practice by Saturday, and then or by Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday will just be more, walkthroughs, lighter things like that. And so, they'll be sitting at about 72 hours from the last like really physical thing they did before we kick off. So, there's different ways to do it, and we're all learning. We had to learn really how to do things with training camp because that was quite tough. Because initially we came in, we thought we were playing on a Saturday. First practice is a Wednesday, so it was like or Sunday, sorry, Sunday, and so your thought is like
Mhm.
you want to have a day off before a game with a game. So our plan was initially was to practice twice on Wednesday, twice Thursday, twice Friday, and that's 2 days is a
Mhm.
pretty unheard of thing in this day and age. So, what we were doing was we were going just helmets in the mornings, and then in the evenings we would go full pads. Um, but even with that, you just really saw guys losing their legs, and when you don't have a too deep, for example, at receiver, we throw the ball all over the field, so our receivers are out there running the entire practice, and you've only got a limited amount of guys there. It makes it really tough to go full speed and get timing down for a lot of things that you're doing. And an idea that I've had that we'd love to implement. I don't know if it's a year one thing because we're already in there, but in the future, what we'd like to do is build a practice squad of local San Antonio, like guys that played at the local colleges here in San Antonio, standout high
Okay.
school players, things like that, that would pretty much come be scout team. Don't have to be at all the meetings and do the whole, full time thing, but come be scout team, work with us, and then have a chance to slowly work their way up if a guy were injured or something like that. And just they all live at home and still have their lives, but kind of similar to that semi-pro schedule. You come out a few nights a week and they're practicing with us, and so that's something that's on the horizon that we talked about heading into year two.
I really like that plan. But so you mentioned it, setting up plans for the future. Let's talk about the future, and uh, let's talk a little bit. We're not going to get into numbers or anything like that, uh, but I think it's important because we've been hearing some questions about the the validity of this team, the how solid it is, and how solid the league is as a whole. Again, not going to get into numbers. We're a sports show. We're not a finance show, and I wouldn't know where to begin with finances. I would a little bit, but we're not going to talk about that. Um, from your perspective, how does this team look set up as far as for the present and for the future? Is this a solidly funded team from
Yeah,
your
yeah.
perspective?
I mean, there's always going to be roadblocks in year one with anything you do, but we have a fantastic ownership group that does care about the team first and not about putting money in their own pockets. If anything, there's money coming out of their pockets to make sure that it's happening, and then you get the whole like marketing side and all the deals that Jen's making over there and Lori working with her, and it's just there's so many people that are putting so much into this on and off the field that you know there's not a doubt in any of our minds, you know, where we're at or where we're headed. And so we don't, there's nobody that sees it. Maybe this will be a 1 year thing. And there's nobody that sees this as something that's going to, you nobody sees this as the best of the days. It's only going to get bigger and better. And I think you just gotta, I mean, right now we're having to earn the trust of San Antonio that we're having to prove that we are a legitimate professional football team. And then we're having to prove that we're a legitimate professional football team that plans to stay in San Antonio long term. And there's growing pains with that. There's a lot of history of things not really going in that way, and so no, for me, I couldn't be happier every day. and we'll have things where we take one step back, but then we're taking two steps forward from there. So everything we're doing is a steady stream uphill. There's definitely the adversity, and I was telling Jen the other day. Every time I wake up in the morning and I have a text or a call, I'm always worried. Like, okay, what's this going to be? What new job is on our plate, or what issue is there to solve? But the greatest thing is that everybody is working together, and any issues that we've had, we get it solved, and we get it solved quickly.
Yes.
We had a few stadium issues early on, and I think we've come out on top. In my opinion, we've came out on top there, and we're in a much better situation now. And there's just multiple things that you always have to go through that you don't really anticipate or prepare for when you're a first year team. And it's all of our owners. It's their first year owning a professional football team, and it's just so many things that keep coming up. But we've been very resilient. We've got it done, and we find a way. Somehow we find a way every time to come out on the better end than even where we were. And so, if you're asking me about our team, like, I could not be more excited about the future and more, I guess, confident in the group we have and where we're going.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that, or let me ask you this, would you echo those same sentiments about the league?
I can't really. I mean, a big difference between a lot of these alternate leagues is many are owned by like one person.
Hmm.
The Rock Danny Garcia or Vince McMahon, or you get things like this where a ton of money comes down from one person. And in our case, every team is individually owned, and so I can't really speak on what the future of these teams are and where they are financially, because I honestly have no idea. But when I look at the other two teams that are playing right now in the South, the Syndicate and the Black Gold, everything looks to be going well. I'm sure they're going through their same issues just like we do, but
Hmm.
from a public standpoint, to me, it looks good. I know that the players are all being taken care of. The players seem happy with their situations, and that's about the most telltale sign of how you're doing as an organization is, are your players happy? Because
Yeah.
these are guys that have played in different leagues and been different places, and if you're not taking care of business, then it's going to get out there. And that happened with another organization that was in our league. And so, for the other two teams in Texas, it looks like they're doing a great job. I was with Manny last year in Ohio Valley, and I know how he runs things there. And there's no doubt there that he's going to put together a great product and take care of his guys. And the Dukes are a team that's been a long time semi-pro team, and I think they're probably structurally they're doing things a bit different than maybe the other four teams are. But they've done it for a long time, and they've been successful with what they've been doing. So I think they're doing what works for them. And
Yeah.
it's I can't speak on the structure of anybody outside of us, and I don't know
Right.
everything that goes on with our team. But I mean, with those five teams, I have no reason to believe that anyone's going to struggle, finishing this season. And to my knowledge, everyone plans to be here next year and to keep building this.
So from a fan standpoint, or let's say probably more a casual fan standpoint, because I don't want to include myself in there because we know I drank the Kool-Aid pretty much from day one.
Hmm.
But from the casual fan standpoint, rather, there's enough evidence there to show that the Toros are financially solid. All the teams in the South are financially solid, and the teams in the North are financially solid. So there's enough evidence for people to continue to keep an eye on it, watch it develop. If they're not quite ready to, jump in head first, maybe just dip a toe or two in and check it out. But the team in the league the teams rather in the league are not going anywhere.
Well,
So this is the time to maybe come check out a game. Yeah.
well, yeah, and when you talk about financially solid, I mean, for me, something that might be another way to look at it is that even if the teams are not financially solid, and I can't speak on what their situation is, But even if they're not as financially solid as maybe you'd expect them to be, they're getting things done. And that shows that everybody's working. And again, it's not a how can I put money in my pocket as an owner or as an organization. It's how can we make this work? How can we keep building? How can we get better each week? And I mean, you still see teams. I saw that, the syndicate just signed a deal with a media company that looks pretty legitimate. And, everybody's constantly just, we're not out here saying, hey, we're coming to take over the UFL or, anything like that. That's the goal, at all. And I think for us, we're building something, and building things take time. And I think more so than looking where teams are now and saying, oh, everybody's in this position or financially set here or there. The better thing is for me is to look at the bigger picture of everybody's busting their ass to make this work. And they're making the sacrifices that they have to make it work. And if you got guys that are doing that, it's only going to get better from year to year. And so the thing is just to really support it and, get behind the people that are making these sacrifices, because, it's everybody keeps putting in, doing what they're doing, and they get more people behind it, more support from local media to even like a broader outreach of media. And, you never know where it's going to go. And the whole point of this league was to be a viable AA professional football league, a league that would feed players to the UFL, to the CFL, and to the NFL. And, we've had 4 players from our team that have already signed up, since we signed up to those higher levels. And I know there's going to be more from our team, and I would imagine there'll be some from other teams as well. And I think the key for this year for everybody is just getting to July 19th in the championship game, because if we can keep our core teams there, everybody's able to prove that, we could do this. Once that game's played, when you look into the future next year and so on, everybody's going to say, okay, this is legitimate. This is a legitimate league. It's not a, IFA or any of the leagues that have tried and failed. It's a league that people got things done. And so, just bear with us and work. We're all working. Plan on shutting things down. We just wanted to get bigger and better each week, each season as we go along, and the more people that can buy into it, the better it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's actually a good way to look at it. That's a good perspective that, hey, it's cool what we're doing now, but understand that we're building something for the future. So look at the work we're doing now to establish that future, and, follow us along on that journey and see how we're going to grow into this bigger vision that we have, right? We're doing okay now, but we have much bigger plans. Wait and see what we have in store for you guys. So I kind of like that.
I mean, you see comments on, different things, Reddit or things like that, or on Discord or whatever, where you get people saying 50 people at the game or 100 people at this game or something like that. But, for me, it's just the idea of how cool is it going to be that it, if you do stick with us and you stick it out, and then you can remember when you went to that game and there was 100 people or 500 people, and 2-3 years down the road, you have, 5,000, 8,000, a legitimate 8,000 at games. And will we get to that? I don't know. But it's the goal. It's I know for our team, at least that's our goal.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about, and I'm not going to call out anything necessarily specifically, but obviously we kind of disagreed with some of the calls that were being made, or more importantly, were being missed on the field this last game. And I really love the fact that your interaction with the head referee actually made it on a reel, where our player got a helmet stripped and launched in the process. as a coach, when you're facing situations like that, and I tried to be helpful and give some support and call out some bad calls also, which I probably shouldn't have done, and so I apologize for that. But when well, look, and Spurgeon's even asking kind of the same question here, right? Why were you so fired up on the sidelines? um I think you did a good job handling the situation there. But when you're in a situation where you're playing an opponent, it almost feels like you're playing against, and I hate to say it this way because I don't necessarily want to put the microscope on the officials or anything.
Yeah.
Almost when you feel like you're playing against the officials too. How do you handle that? What adjustments do you make to be able to continue to work towards that win?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. The when you talk about the guy's helmet getting ripped off, the same player had his helmet ripped off by the same player on a previous punt as well, and even worse than that one that I ran out on the field. So that happened twice. Twice we had a guy literally have his head spun and a helmet ripped off and thrown, and not once a flag. And I've only seen that maybe 5 times in my life watching football, and every time there's 10 flags on the field, and
Mm-hmm.
and to not get a flag on either one. And that's why I was so hot on the second one, because it had already happened and we had already talked about it. And then it happened again, and I can get upset about maybe a lack of calls that I truly believe were pass interference, or maybe calls on us that were called that I didn't agree with. But when it comes down to player safety and taking care of my guys, that's where I draw the line. And that's something that, number 4 is Zatique for us. He could have been seriously injured in either one of those instances. And I think, when there's no flag being thrown there, it's it kind of tells it tells, whoever it is. And I'm not saying this is a syndicate thing, and I'm not saying that, refs were out to get us or anything like that, because I don't believe that to be the case. But I do believe they missed a lot of things that they should have seen. And when they let things like that go, that tells the other, whoever's doing the penalties, oh, you can get away with that. Or maybe it tells our team we can go do the same thing because they're letting them get away with it. And what you get is an unsafe environment where maybe you have a serious injury that should never happen, and that wouldn't happen if the game was under control. I mean, I know it's new for everybody. It's a lot of the officials we have are guys that have just done high school, and so they're having to learn new rules. Especially with the continental shift, things like that. They're having to learn new rules, and learning to maybe ref a different level of player and a different type intensity and things like that. So, it's a work in progress. And like I say, I never did I feel like, oh, the refs are out to get us or they're cheating us or things like that. And I'm sure there were missed calls on the other side as well. But, for me, it starts with player safety. And if they're not taking care of our guys, and it's something that I'm going to stand up for. And I would hope that any other head coach in the league would do the same thing for his guys.
So you brought up the continental shift. Obviously, we've been doing fairly well with it. This last Saturday, the syndicate defense was able to adjust kind of to what that game plan was, and really kind of keep us from just marching all up and down the field. But what about the officials? Do you think that the officials made a good adjustment to what those rules are, especially considering they probably haven't seen them before? And do we expect the officials to get better as time goes on with this? Like, what were your thoughts on how they did?
I thought they did okay. One thing that we talked pregame about was when the play clock starts, because it's just a 20-second play clock. And the agreement between both coaching staffs and the refs was a complete understanding of when the ball is spotted, when the ref puts the ball down, he waves his hand to start the play clock. But then we get out in our first drive, and the play clock was starting the second we would get tackled on the sideline. And by the time the ball would be spotted, there would only be like 7 seconds left on the play clock. And it should have just been starting then. So that's where you got a few, like for us, I guess, delay of games at the beginning. It wasn't that it was too fast for us. It was that was the learning curve for them. And
Right.
yeah, they're going to get better. Everybody's going to get better. I can't blame them on something like that because they're much like we're doing something I'm doing something I've never done schematically before. They're having to do the same thing, and they're having to watch for different things they haven't watched. I mean, they're not used to guys motioning towards the line or past the line and then saying, "Oh, is he a yard past it or is he 2 yards past it? A yard's fine, 2 yards is a penalty." And yeah, it's tough. It takes time, and so I fully anticipate that every officiating crew will get better at it, just as we'll get better at it as an offense and as a defense. I think it's just it's a learning curve. It's a cool thing. I think it really sets our league apart. But one thing that's really hard, I think, is just with such a short training camp, it's hard enough to have time to get in your base things. But I mean, we went into the preseason game, we hadn't practiced continental shift 1 second, and we had practiced it for a total of 15 minutes going into our game on Saturday. So I think that's just something that it takes time, and
Yeah.
I think we'll be better at it each week, and everybody else will too. So again, much like with what we're doing with the league, it's going to take time, and everybody just needs to, we don't need to complain about it. The rules are what they are. We all know what we signed up for. So the key is just to, get with the times, work on it, get better, and
Yeah.
that's all we can do.
I will say from a fan standpoint, Coach, I personally liked it. Same with Spurgeon here. Yeah, I mean, he is my evil twin, so it makes sense. But oh, look, and it's our friend Timmy. I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But I like the innovation. I like the fast pace of the game. I like the fact that you really have opportunities for offenses to either blow up or completely fall apart. Because again, you only have the 3 downs. It's not like you can inch it 2 yards down each play. Like you've got to be looking at, 5 or 6 yards every single time.
Yeah.
And I love that because it puts a lot of pressure on offenses to perform and defenses to prevent. And you've got to come up with some crazy schemes, especially with 2, receivers in motion. So I think you guys did a great job.
You can have 5 in motion at a time.
Oh, that's even better. Well, I hadn't seen you put 5 in yet.
We had 5. We had 5 most of the snaps.
But in motion?
Mm-hmm. So the 2 outside men on the line of scrimmage can motion up and down the line, and the 3 motion forward. So, I mean, most plays we would have guys either inside and then they'd motion out, and then we'd have the 3 motion up, or vice versa. They'd be out, they'd motion in, and then I know we hit a mesh with the wheel route to Chris Carpenter where you get the 2 meshers motioned in and meshed, and you had the other 3 guys all running up. So, the way we did it for the first week is we put in 5 formations, and we had 2 plays off of each formation. So we only had 10 plays put in, but we had a play and then a counter play off of that. And so, we did a jet sweep, and then with the motion where you had Cam Eccles Looper coming from far back to take a jet sweep, and then we had a counter off of that. We had a run and then a play action off of that, which we didn't do. So we just had we had a deeper pass with a delay screen off of that to a running back. So that's kind of what we got in for the first week. And it's helped a lot having guys like Will and Cam and several others that do have some CFL experience. So I think that's an advantage we have probably over the other teams is at least our quarterback and the 4 receivers that were in at the start of the 4th all have had at least CFL training camp experience. So it's guys that, while it was still really, I don't really understand how they're even timing it up, but they're understanding it. So, they're like, this is day 1 in CFL. So they're out there, and it kind of amazed me how quickly they got the things down that I was still having to really think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's got to be a huge advantage to us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would think so. I mean, again, we talked about it before. You know, indoor player versus traditional football player, kind of who has the advantage. And again, the rules are different, but the the, the Canadian football favors the traditional American football player. The only thing that really the indoor player can kind of tap into is the pace of the game, right? But it still doesn't necessarily translate because again, you're only playing on a 50-yard field. You still have 10 yards to get. You have 4 downs, all blah 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 blah, right? Um, but okay, let me because I don't want to forget about Jason's question here because this is a really good one. But after the game, and it was a heated battle, we obviously saw some people, kind of getting upset and losing their tempers a little bit. And some of it was probably partly our fault. And so I apologize. But what did you think about the brotherhood after the game? People getting together, hugging, praying, all that good stuff.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the guys, on both teams know each other, and I mean, they're competitors. Everybody out there is competitors, from the coaches to the players, and we all want to win, and we want to be better than the guy across from us. So I think there's a better way to do it without maybe as much chippiness and taunting and pushing and extracurricular things like that we saw at times in the game. But I did hear a guy say, a syndicate player telling our guy like, "I'm going to see you in the parking lot," blah blah blah, and all this, and then after the game out on the field, you see them hugging each other, and
Oh, okay.
so you see that, and it's just guys get caught up. I mean, the guy that pulled our kid's helmet off, he came up to me after the game and apologized, and he was just like, "I got in my head and I was mad, and I shouldn't have done it. I know I shouldn't have done it." He's like, "When I did it the first time, I expected to be thrown out, and there was no flag." And then he's like, "I didn't even think about it, but I did it a second time, and I knew I was out then, and I saw nothing." But it's he understood what he did, and I mean, it wasn't like, "Oh, this is a bad human being." I mean, he was a really respectful kid, and I think sometimes you just get caught up in the moment of things. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to say that I said some things I didn't mean during the game, but I think I pretty much meant everything that I said. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they did, Tim. I heard some of the back. Well, I'm kind of there in the middle of the fans and their players, and you definitely had their players yelling at you during the game. So
Yes. So I wanted to ask you about that. So we did warn you in advance that we're
mhm.
kind of a loud, rowdy group. We're only going to take it so far. We're not going to specifically, say anything vulgar or insulting. And we actually did jump on some fans. I don't think they were our fans. I think there were actually syndicate fans that came over because the
Mhm.
syndicate was losing. And then they started saying some kind of inappropriate things. And so we as a fan base jumped on them because we're not going
Yeah.
to be that fan base, right? Um, but how did we do? Did we do okay? Did we take it too far? Do you need us to tone back? Keep doing what we're doing?
I
What
mean,
does coach want to see from us?
if you ask me, I don't like hearing this stuff personally, but your fans,
Okay.
I don't care. Your fans. I'm never going to hear something from a fan that makes me turn around and yell at a fan.
Okay.
It's you got to have a thick skin to be in this sport, whether you're a player or a coach. And I think that's this. You're not going to get a veteran player that's turning around and yelling. That's going to be the younger guys that are still learning how this works.
Mhm.
And so in my mind, there's things that I hear our fans say back there that I've heard you guys say that I don't necessarily want to hear or agree with, but at the same time, it's not something that I'm going to turn around and interact with fans on. I think in the preseason game, I heard our fans really yelling at a player like, "Hey, we're up by 40 or something," and they're really ragging on the defensive back and calling him by his number. And I did actually, turn around there and just kind of give them like a, you know, let's keep it down a bit because I personally, I mean, necessarily agree with calling out guys one by one, which I'm not a trash talker. It's never been me at all.
Right.
But I mean, for me, you guys do what you do, and it's not something that affects me either way. Just
Okay.
because it's not something that I would condone doesn't mean that I have an issue with it, because you guys pay the money to get in there, and it's, I guess if it's something that you do that's bad enough, then they would come and ask you to leave, and
Right.
doing that, then I mean, it's not my space to tell a fan how to enjoy the football game.
Right. No, and completely understood. But again, we also want to make sure that we're not necessarily an embarrassment to you guys either.
Yeah,
Right. Because we don't want to be that fan base where everybody comes in and is like, oh God, we got to play San Antonio. And it's not even them that we're worried about. It's their stupid fans.
yeah,
Right. So we want to be a lively, passionate, supportive bunch. But we don't necessarily want to step over those lines.
yeah.
So we will definitely make sure that we take that into consideration. And
I'm
we're
not the
not.
one to talk to about that stuff though, because like I say, for me, I mean, when our players do like the smallest bit of talking back to guys, it bothers me just because I was just never that way as a player.
Right, right. Understood. And I always tended to be a little bit more spicy. All right. I've always, not necessarily starting it, but I'm going to be the one that finishes it for sure. Right. Um, but you always know when I'm making noise because I'm the one who's like my sole purpose in life. And I think we accomplished it together. Tim and I accomplished it together. We did get a false start. My deal is the fake cadence. If I can get someone to move on a fake cadence call, then I've done my job. And that's just throwing noise out there, right? That's
Yeah,
not calling anybody out. That's not doing anything. And if
yeah,
you as an old lineman, if you bite, I mean, I'm sorry, that's on you.
yeah.
You got to know your QB. So I'm just saying in that regard, right? That's the kind of stuff that we're probably the best at. But again, the whole purpose of that, we want to make sure that we're doing our part to support you guys, to make you feel that we've got your back,
Yeah.
right? Um, and I think it's fair to say that I'm kind of past my prime, so I can't exactly strap pads on and go out there and help you out. But if I can make a little bit of noise and help us get an extra 5 yards or something like that, well, that I can definitely do. So that's what we're all about.
Well,
So, um,
I appreciate the false start.
well, I'd like to say it's us. I can't guarantee it. I'd have to talk to the offensive lineman that moved, but it
Yeah,
was pretty obvious he moved. Like there
yeah,
was no denying he got up and scrolled to the left, and he was like, "Oh crap!" Like you could see it on his face. It was so bad. Anyways, um, so I don't want to keep you because I know you've got stuff to do, and again, you've got you know the business side of football to do still. Because let's be honest, your time clock never stops, right? For the next 6 weeks, you're going to be on the clock pretty much 24/7. So I want to make sure that you're using the best use of your time, not necessarily just talking to us. What we kind of already talked about it. I mean, you're going to have a game plan for the Black Gold, and it sounds like we're going to have a little bit more time underneath the Continental Shift rules. So, can we expect more of this high powered offense and the shutdown defense? You're going to try and throw in a little bit of razzle dazzle. Well, I don't want you to give away the game plan or anything.
yeah.
Um, but what can we expect to see as far as what we're looking at for the competition against the Tall City Black Gold?
Yeah. I mean, it's for me, and I think it's your job as a head coach to take every opponent serious, and I thought that was what was great for our team, because as you spoke of earlier about us kind of being the standard for the league. I think our players maybe hear that a little bit too much at times, and then when you go out and you win a game 71-0, and we get out, a 24-0 mid-second quarter against what's supposed to be the stiffest competition in the league, I think you start to get guys in their heads that are just thinking, okay, it's easy. And, I thought that that was maybe a blessing in disguise for us that, the last 2.5 quarters of that game when we really didn't do much and we turned the ball over some is just okay.
Oh,
Oh,
there we go.
but for our guys to get a reality check that, yeah, they got to work and nothing's going to be given to us and every opponent's going to be tough from here on out. So, do I think we're the best team? Or better yet, is it my 100% firm belief that we're the best team? Absolutely. But do I think anybody in our league could beat us? Yes. I don't think we're at such a high tier that no one else in our league could beat us on if we're out there, we're turning the ball over and we're not executing. They have a great day. We struggle. I mean, yeah. So we're definitely beatable. And so for our guys, it's just, I always say we're not competing at the level of our opponents. What we should be doing is competing at the level of where we're trying to reach, competing at the level of where we're trying to get to. So you're competing at the level of the UFL, regardless of who's across from you, or the CFL or the NFL. And that's something that we talk about a lot with our guys is, because we have guys that have been in all of these leagues, but now they're all here. You got a second round draft pick, Super Bowl winner Tom Brady that's here playing right alongside a Division III kid, that just finished college. So you got guys that have been at the pinnacle of the sport all the way down to the smallest college level, and they're all here. They're all in San Antonio. They're all here at the same hotel and eating the same meals and practicing on the same fields in the same locker room, getting the same coaching. So, it's when you push it that way, it really doesn't matter where you've been because you're here. And I often say that it's very similar to junior college football. I coached junior college football for a long time. And in JUCO football, you get the local guys that are maybe from the area, which maybe here you could look at as a UIW or UTSA guy.
Mhm.
And then you get the guys that maybe were playing at somewhere that there was not much exposure. So maybe that's some of the like Division III guys, things like that they never got a look because of they were just playing at a smaller program. But then you get the guys that are similar to like the bounce backs, right? That were maybe at a Division I and then go back to a JUCO. And maybe it's because they got in trouble or maybe they were injured. But there's a reason that everybody's here. Maybe it's not taking coaching well or, just different things to work on, different things to learn. And, that's our goal is just like at the junior college level, you try to figure out what it is that led this player to being here and try to put together individual plans of how you can help them overcome whatever it is that's holding them back and try to get them to that level. So it's a lot of work and a lot of really getting to know the guys. And you can't just see them as another body. You got to see them as a person. It's guys that we're not paying them a ton of money here, so it's not like they're coming here getting rich or anything. And so for us, we understand their sacrifices they're making, just like my staff and our ownership and everyone else. There's time away from family.
Mhm.
You're missing out on a lot of money probably in a lot of instances, things like that. But we're all doing it because we all have bigger goals, whether it be a personal goal or a goal for the entire organization. We're all trying to get somewhere. There's nobody here that's trying to just stay here and be who we are and where we are. We're all trying to, I mean, in our case, for myself, for Jen, who's right there,
Mhm.
is trying to get this team to the highest level we can get it to. For the players, some maybe that's the goal is to win a championship with the Toros. For some, it's maybe to get back to the NFL or the CFL. And you know, we all have places we're trying to get to. No one's content, and I think when you get content, you get lazy, and you have a lack of action. So I hope it stays that way.
Yes. Could not agree with you more, Coach. So that's probably the best way to end the show. So I won't take up any more of your time. Again, I thank you for stepping in on such short notice. And it's always such a pleasure just to talk to you and get your insight and, just your introspective on what you're doing, your philosophy with coaching, all that good stuff. Um, Folks, if you're not already following Coach Stan Bedwell, you need to be following this man. He's doing incredible things with a very diverse group of individuals with a vast amount of experience, whether it be from the pros, like Coach said, all the way down to our local D2 and D3 guys. And he just, the man knows football like nobody's business. So make sure you're following him on the Instagram, the Facebook, the X, the Tickety Talk, whatever all those social media things are. Uh, Coach, I know you're out there doing
I've
it.
never had a TikTok. They're going to have a hard time finding there. My dad actually has TikTok. I think he might be watching right now. So
Interesting. Well, we are on TikTok as well.
I
I've
mean,
got to go over.
he's not dancing or anything on there, to my knowledge. I wouldn't know because I don't have it, but he does send me TikTok videos on Facebook from time to time, and I can't watch them because I don't have TikTok. I just click on it and I
Well,
don't, doesn't work.
Coach, I promise you, you're not missing anything. As basically the dad of 4 teenage daughters and one 9-year-old, we get the little dance party stuff here, and
Do you
I'm
partake?
I 100% am the guy trying to step in and bust it up by making some kind of weird, rude noise or some kind of inappropriate comment, just whatever I can do to ruin their videos, so they have to start all over again, right? Because that's what I do. I disrupt things, man. So, anyways, Coach, go enjoy the rest of your night off, right? Rest up, be ready to hit the grindstone because I know the guys are going to be coming back. They're going to be hungry. They're going to want to push themselves, and they're going to want to absolutely destroy the Tall City Black Gold. But Tall City isn't going to just stand there and let it happen. So this
I
should be
mean,
a pretty good game.
yeah, I'm really excited. We're all really excited. Five of our seven coaches, of our five of our seven paid coaches stuck around for the week, and I know we're all. If that game would have been in Austin this weekend, we probably would have went and watched it. But I don't think we're going to head all the way to Midland, but we'll definitely be watching that game together on Saturday night, and really really excited to see how that matchup goes because I think
Oh yeah,
that'll be a very good game, and that's going to kind of give us an idea of the level that the Black Gold's really at right now.
okay. Well, we as fans will be watching also, and we as podcasters definitely are going to want to be watching. We're trying to catch all the games so far. We're doing pretty good, but we want to make sure that we're kind of watching also just to see how things develop because obviously I have a feeling that we have a really good shot of being in the Southern Conference Championship, maybe in the Continental Football League Championship game. So, I mean, if I got to make some travel arrangements, I'd like to know in advance.
I,
So,
I
but
think you should.
again, Coach, thank you for joining us, man. Cannot wait to see you back out on the football field again. And I guess fans, again, make sure you're following Coach. You're following the Toros on Instagram, TikTok, all the good things. Um, make sure you're also following United Football Media because, again, as Tim said, they're making it real easy for us to watch the games, and it's a good quality product.
Yeah,
So,
how about that
that being the
highlight
case,
and the highlights they put up? Fantastic. They're doing a great job.
oh,
ACE and the whole UFM group's doing fantastic, and so I can't say enough about that. And I think it's as the level of play is going to keep rising. I think when you have that kind of production, it adds some validity to it, and so it's been great seeing them. And again, just want to thank you for all the support that you've given us from preseason up until now. It means a lot.
oh, Coach, I appreciate it. It's been my absolute pleasure. Again, when we've talked about it before, you know, we had something, it was taken away. What do I do with all that energy and all that passion? Right? Where do I put it? And then, miraculous act of God, the dark stormy clouds broke and this beam of sunlight came down and it illuminated this wonderful San Antonio Toros logo. And there's my answer. So I can take that same energy and that same love and that same passion and put it into you guys. So really, it goes back to me thanking you for being here in the first place, so I can do something healthy and creative with that energy rather than like blowing up mailboxes or something.
Well,
So I appreciate you keeping me from felonies, Coach.
yeah. And one question for you:
Oh,
who's more handsome, Wade Phillips or Jerry Glanville?
that's an impossible question to answer. Here's why. Okay, Wade Phillips is like America's grandfather. Everybody loves him. Everybody just gets the warm fuzzies around him. He always treats everybody with love and respect and whatever. Jerry Glanville is like your really cool and crazy uncle, right? He's lived beyond the edge. He's done a lot of crazy things with his life. And he's kind of like, you know, America's bad boy of a couple of, I mean, he's still a bad boy now because there's no way he's going to live down the reputation that he has. So it really it depends on what your definition of handsome would be. They're both genuinely attractive guys, but one is more soft and kind and gentle, and one is more bristly and rough and outlawish. So again, it's apples and oranges, Coach.
Jerry's going to be disappointed to hear that you don't think he's soft, kind, and gentle.
Who?
Jerry
Glanville?
Yeah. See,
there's no way.
You just don't know him well enough. You don't know the real Jerry. You only know the public facade that he puts out.
Well, I know he roasted me within 2 minutes of meeting me. So
he came up to my suite last night to get a spoon so he could eat applesauce. If that tells you how soft and sweet he is. He's like, I don't have a spoon. We tried to get to the kitchen and it was too late downstairs, and I said I have a spoon up in my room, and he came up and got a spoon so he could eat applesauce.
Well, that was very kind.
He wrote me at 2:30 a.m. talking about the tendencies of the Black Gold from their preseason game. So I mean, he's the guy. He'll write me at 2:30, and then he'll write me at 5:30.
Well, because again,
I'm not sure if he actually sleeps or not.
I don't think he needs to. I think he's gotten beyond that phase in his life, and now he can just do football 24/7. And now you got to keep up with him.
He's a big blues fan. He's out somewhere watching blues music tonight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a couple of good places for that here in San Antonio.
Yeah. That's one thing that he was really excited about, and I think there's a place he's going to try to go tomorrow night and watch it too. But he loves live music and loves the blues. He said not jazz, because I found a bar last night. I was like, well, there's a jazz place. He said, I don't like jazz. I like blues.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
So I'll defend a coach on that. But anyways, okay. Again, let me cut you loose. I appreciate you, Coach. Guys, make sure that you're following, right? Follow Miss Jen. Follow everybody that's associated with the San Antonio Toros. Follow Coach. Follow the rest of the coaching staff. That's the best place to get your information is social media, because they as soon as things are known, they make them public. They don't mess around. And be ready for the game against Tall City Black Gold, not this Saturday, but next Saturday at 7 p.m. at the Wheatley Heights Stadium. It'll be our homecoming game. This will be our first game in that facility. And I expect to see a decent turnout, a decent crowd, because we're going to be able to do all the things that we normally do, the tailgating, the all the hoopla that goes into the game. And Miss Jen is definitely going to be making sure that we're up to date on everything that's happening with all the tailgates and all the sponsors and all that, such as our friends at Alamo Pits and Grills, right? I had to do the shameless plug, Coach. I'm sorry.
Let me do a shameless plug as well.
Oh, Coach got a shameless plug too. But again, make sure you're following and, share our stuff. Oh, you mean these folks right here?
That's right, the Toros Blondale. Mine's cold. Is yours?
No, I told you I was saving this one for a souvenir. Yeah. So,
have you had one yet?
I have not had one yet.
Fantastic, man.
Okay.
I'm usually not a big fan of craft beer, but this is actually extremely good. very smooth, and yeah, I've got my fridge is full of them now,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, and we're actually doing I think we're doing an event there. If Jen's on now, she might know about it, but I think we're this weekend we're doing an event at the Cactus Brewing or Cactus Land Brewing, and
Oh,
so
okay.
that's our people there.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to see if I can sweet talk somebody into getting me a 6 pack, and I'll hit you when I get back. I
I
actually have to make a run.
I got you, brother.
Okay. Well, I'll hook. I'll pay you back when we meet up again. I have to
I
run.
got some in the fridge. I'll bring you some next time I know I'm going to see you.
Perfect. Okay. So Saturday, go out to it's Cactus Land Brewing Company. Or
Yeah,
over,
think we're going to be there. We'll have a table there doing some things, and I say
excellent.
I don't know all the details on it, but I know that's been spoke of, and I believe it's this Saturday evening.
Well, Miss Jen can definitely share the information and let everybody know via Facebook and all the different social medias and all that. Um, I unfortunately will not be there. I've got to go run over to the Badlands of West Texas and go get a family member and bring it back here for a church event this next week. Otherwise, I would be there. I'll be there in spirit though for sure. And I'm trying to get some flags made for us to be able to fly at our stadium. Now, I'm
That'd
probably
be
going to be told to take them down, but that's fine. I'll deal with that when it happens. But whatever place we go to, we need to make it ours, and it starts with the flags. So, all right,
no, I think that's great, man.
that's let's put a pin in this, coach, because I've been trying to let you go for a while, and I've been keeping you for like 20 minutes past when you wanted to go. So, all right, guys, appreciate you all. Make sure you like, follow, share, follow Miss Jen for everything that's going on with all the events going on this weekend and everything. And we'll see you guys at the next game. Vamos Toros. We'll see you guys.